Why we need more critical thinking and less politics. All right, thanks for joining us in our first episode of Reversing the Rhetoric. Today, the title was basically why we need more critical thinking and less politics. So I'm not going to get political. I'm not going to tell you my point of view, my stance, or even what side I lean, if I lean anyway. But I'm just going to basically just discuss the fact that we need to be doing more critical thinking and less playing political games and actually get to the bottom of some of these things. So I'm going to bring up some touchy subjects in politics, but there's no agenda on who's right or wrong. I'm just trying to show you these situations or issues are much more complicated than they try to put on TV. You know, most of the time they do these debates and it's like, give me your 2-second or your 10-second response or your 30-second response, and you don't even get your intro done before you get 30 seconds in. So they're just quickly little taglines. Let me say my tagline that'll make the news. It's just like reading the news and you just taking the header and then running with that instead of researching and reading why they came up with that headline, right? So, like I said, this is not about what your stance is, what my stance is, or what any of that is. I'm not trying to convince anybody anything. I'm just showing you why we can all use a little bit more critical thinking and less games. I'll put this basically what I mean by politics is games, okay? Because that's what it is. So let's just talk about some stuff. So critical thinking on what? What are some big political issues? Well, immigration, we got the Green New Deal, those kind of things. Let's talk about that, right? Let's talk about like renewable energy. Let's talk about the Green New Deal, right? So the Green New Deal. All right, on that, the Green New Deal versus, we'll call it versus fossil fuels or whatever. Like I said, this is not specific. I'm not trying to cover this side as this side as that. I'm just showing you why we need to look into things a little bit more. So we'll say for sake of argument, you can usually divide politics in two sides, right? The right and the left. We all know that there's shades of gray and all mixes, and liberal versus conservative. There's all kinds of different things. But we're just going to say generally saying the left is over here, generally saying the right's over there, right? So if you're in the left and you're on the right, all right, left being Democratic, right being Republican, what the left wants to do really, right, is, let's see, left wants to basically get rid of fossil fuels altogether and completely change everything, right? So if they want to get rid of fossil fuels. Okay, and then I guess the right would probably want to find ways to reduce the footprint with fossil fuels, right? Since it's already in place. So they're probably saying that they want to keep fossil fuels and then basically work back, right? So they want to work back and make it, clean coal or better ways of trapping the carbon or the pollutants that go in the air or whatever they want. So in general, this is not, like I'm trying to say, I'm not an expert on politics, okay? So in general, they want to keep the fossil fuels, bring it, expand it, make more money, and generate an economy, right? And they want to cut it back, and they want to, and this side's more focused on reducing like CO2 and pollutants, right? Pollutants, whatever. Hence, I'm not sure how to spell that. Reducing CO2 and pollutants, and these want to expand, deregulate, and reinvest, right? I'm not an expert on this subject. This is just an example. I can't go too deep in this because I don't know, I'm not that deep into the subject, but I am gonna bring this up a little bit and just pull it up here so that I can write without bending over. All right, so reduce the CO2 pollutants, expand and deregulate, reinvest, the pipeline, right, the XL pipeline, which will help bring down costs and create jobs and blah, blah, blah. And over here, they want to stop the pipeline, which they've done, right? So these are just some examples. And they want to use, wind and solar, and they don't. Okay, so a logical person or a government or politicians that legitimately want to solve problems for the American people and do their job on both sides, those kind of people it would help them to critically think. You can't just say, I'm on this side, and these are my beliefs, you're on that side, those are your beliefs, and no matter what, I'm gonna fight for my beliefs, and you fight for your beliefs, and I'm gonna fight to change you, and you're gonna fight to change me. Instead of doing that, what they should be doing is critical thinking and saying, well, let's just break these things down together. Let's mix everybody up. Republicans and Democrats, mix up. Every other one. Switch you guys. Republican, Democrat. Mix them up, and let's discuss the pros of both sides, and then the cons of both sides. And then let's come up with a strategic or a way to take the data we got and implement it, right? Sounds very simple. It sounds like what any reasonable person would do. Politicians aren't that reasonable. So they seem to be only interested in what gets them to the top or gives them political power or gives them brownie points in Hollywood or whatever it may be. So let's just look at this. What are the positive and negatives, right? We're talking about basically, renewable energy versus fossil fuels. So, well, if you get rid of all fossil fuels instantly or very quickly, it's like ripping off the Band-Aid, right? So you don't want to do anything just quickly, especially without any research or data or any data to go off of, for sure. And you don't want to just say, no, we don't need renewable energy. We've been doing it this way forever. It's already in place. Everybody has a job. So forget that. We'll address that when we need to, right? You don't want to do either one of those aren't right. So if you had reasonable people and people critically think, they would say, okay, what's the pros of this? What's the pros of that? Okay, well, somewhere between here is where they're going to find out where they're going to end up being. And there's a reason why each side picks that way, is because it's polarizing, right? You need to be over here or there. If you're wishy-washy, I guess someone doesn't know where you stand on it, and they're going to pick one or the other. So unfortunately, I'm not here to change anything. I just want you to open up your mind a little bit and think critically. So reducing CO2 pollutants, right? And they want to expand and deregulate and reinvest. So the truth of the matter is, yeah, of course we need to reduce CO2, right? And we have been actually. If you look at the United States, we've actually year over year are constantly reducing. We're one of the leaders, if not the leader, in reducing pollutants. And that doesn't mean we shouldn't try harder, but it also doesn't mean that also is that there's other countries in this world. It's not just us. So you can have one person being perfect and one just completely letting it go, and it's going to counter. So if people were critically thinking and working together, maybe they would talk with these countries and make it mutually beneficial for them to change, right? Seems like critical thinking actually solves a lot. It might even solve war if you actually implement it. So, and they want to, for instance, stop the pipeline, and they want to keep the pipeline because it's going to, create jobs and keep costs down or whatever it is, right? I'm sure there's a happy medium between both. I don't want to get into politics of it. But anyway, if any critical thinking person is going to start seeing like, oh, check over here, he's right on that one. Oh yeah, but this over here makes sense. Oh yeah, but that makes sense over there. Oh, that makes sense over here. Okay, well, I guess we need to be somewhere right in this area then, right? If you critically think, you're going to find out usually you're somewhere in the middle. So since I don't know a whole lot on this topic, I'll go into another topic, right? Let's go into to immigration, okay? Let's go into immigration real quick. These are not fun things to talk about, really, but I'm just trying to go over the whole concept of just be a critical thinker. Just make sure you're thinking and you're not just jumping and saying, oh, these are my beliefs, so that's it, right? Okay, so we're talking about immigration. Immigration, all right? You got the left and you got the right again. And here it is. It's always a left and right game, right? There's not much critical thinking going on. This is the whole point of this conversation. So one side wants what? Like open borders, right? Okay, one side wants, strong, tough borders. All right, and then one side wants take down the wall. Not necessarily that this is their stance, but you know what I mean. In general, they lean this way versus them leaning that way. They want to build a wall, right? And then they want to make illegal immigrants legal. And these want to do a system based off merit, right? System based off merit and rules to follow, basically. And then what else you have? You have and on this side you may want to give they want to give healthcare, right? Healthcare to the legal immigrants to help them out, and they say no healthcare. Okay, these are just for immigrants. Immigrants. Okay. Right. This is just some general lines here. So, if we were to do some critical thinking on this, you'd quickly find out that it's not just black or white, right? It's, well, okay, if we have open borders, what are the positives and negatives? Well, open borders means you're going to have the people who want to come in, people who need sanctuary, for instance, right? Sanctuary, the people who need it, get it, right? So they're safe. And what is another positive of open borders? Brings in more money, right? You can say, we're going to open borders, we'll let you in, but at a price or whatever it is, right? So maybe it brings in some more money. Or maybe it saves you money because you're not having to patrol the borders, right? You don't have to pay for the border patrol, you don't have to pay for all that stuff. So maybe it saves and makes you money, right? Maybe. This is just general. I'm not doing any research on this really deep. And have tough borders, what? Well, then we can control who comes and goes, including murderers, right? Murderers, drug traffickers, child traffickers, all kinds of things, right? So including drug trafficking and child trafficking. And then tough borders also controls population, right? So, they're like, okay, I can see if I have open borders, okay, then there's people that need help get help. That may save us money because we don't patrol the border. Oh, but if we have tough borders, well, then we can control who comes in and we can keep track of not letting in bad people and maybe make it more merit-based or whatever, right? As you see, there's positives to both, right? And then you might say, well, what negatives? Well, negatives is we have an open border, then we're letting in everybody, including all the bad people. There is good and bad people in all groups of people, right? And what are the negatives of having a tough border? Well, then people look at us a little different, maybe, or maybe it makes people not feel as welcome. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of ideas of what it could be. That's the whole point of critical thinking. And then we'll say, okay, well, what are the positives of taking down the wall? Well, that makes it feel less like a prison. Or what's the positives of having a wall? Well, we can control who comes in and out, right? Same thing, kind of the same thing. The wall and the borders is the same thing. So, or this side says we want to go ahead and all the illegal immigrants that are here, let's make them citizens. Okay, what's the positives to that? Well, more taxpayers, right? Cool. Okay, what? More diverse people, more bilingual people. I don't know, whatever it may be. So, assuming they speak two languages, or Spanish speakers, I don't know, whatever it is, right? Okay, well, what's the benefits of a system based off of a merit for having people in? Well, in that case, we get better quality people, right? Not necessarily quality as in a good-hearted person or a bad-hearted person, but at least on paper, we could say well, this guy doesn't have a rap sheet, this guy does. You can come in, whatever. Or this guy's educated, this person's not educated. Well, we get the educated one, right? Right or wrong, I'm just telling you, I'm just black and white, just describing both sides. If people would actually slow down and think on these things, they might realize that, oh, not everybody over here is bad. No, not everybody over here is bad either. They just have a different point of view than I do, right? They just have a different point of view, whether it's right or wrong. So, and one more thing, they want to give healthcare and they don't want healthcare. Well, benefits is more people with healthcare. Negative is, who's going to pay for that healthcare, right? So there's always positive and negatives to everything. So I guess my whole point in this is we need more critical thinking and less politics, is the fact that we need less games. We want more people that are willing to do the hard discussions and meetings and debates and all the things necessary to really get to the problems and come up with the solutions for these things. And I just wanted to kind of make this video to kind of show you that there's not necessarily a right or wrong or a good and bad or this is the way we should be and this is the way you shouldn't be. There's always middle ground, and we should always try to find that middle ground, and we should always be using our brains to determine and problem solve and come up with what solution makes more sense. And you're gonna find most of the time that somewhere in between the middle of both extremes is where you actually should probably be at, right? Depending on the topic. So anyway, that's my rant for this time. But we'll go ahead and wrap this video up. We appreciate you joining us for an episode of Reversing the Rhetoric. It's our first episode, so we'll see where this takes us in this series. But just wanted to get that off my mind a little bit and off my plate and just bring it to your attention just to open up people to start thinking. And maybe I'll make a video soon on critical thinking. So thanks for joining us. Please hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon for notifications. Don't forget to follow us on YouTube. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. We're on all the social media platforms. Thanks for tuning in.